right, so it's not often that with this Supreme Court and something that happens to deal with abortion access, you would get good news. But in this case, we got good news. So, Supreme Court turns back challenges to laws keeping abortion opponents away from clinics, patients. As it should be. I mean, okay, you don't like abortion, fine. Don't harass people just because they're doing something that you do not like. That's just dumb. All right. The Supreme Court refused Monday to hear a pair of cases from abortion opponents who say laws limiting anti abortion demonstrations near clinics violate their First Amendment rights. No, sorry, sweetheart. The First Amendment doesn't allow you to bully people. That's just not a thing. The majority did not explain their reasoning for turning down the appeals, as is typical, but two conservative justices, Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, disagreed. And if anyone is shocked, I'd be shocked. The city said the laws were passed to address disturbing behavior from protesters outside of healthcare clinics. But anti-abortion activists said the measure violates free speech rights and should be on their deathbed after the judges overturned Roe v. Wade and the nationwide right to abortion. Okay. So much to unpack here. All right. Like I said, you do not have the right to harass people. That is not a First Amendment right. And likewise, if you're disturbing the peace, not just the patients going into the clinic, but disturbing the people around you who are just trying to go about their day and hearing shrieks because, oh my God, someone is doing something that I don't agree with. No, that is very much within the city's right to say stop it. And they think that clinics should be on their deathbed because Roe was overturned. Okay, yeah, the nationwide right to abortion has been overturned, but states still have the rights. Now, will Trump follow through on Project 2025 and pass a national amendment? That's possible. That's possible that he will pass a national abortion ban. Absolutely possible. We're not there yet. Not there at all. So, until then, the states that have laws allowing for abortion, and these are healthcare clinics. These don't necessarily, if they do perform abortions, it's not the only thing they do. So, like I've mentioned before, just because someone is going to these clinics doesn't mean that they're going for an abortion. They could be getting contraception. They could be just having a pap smear. They could be having a mammo. They could be talking about potential options if they're infertile or if they're having problems getting pregnant. There's so many reasons people go to healthcare clinics. And men too go to healthcare clinics. It's not just women. So, because they are a healthcare clinic. These activists act like this is a human butcher shop where you just, go have your insides butchered and leave or something. I have no idea what they think goes on. But no, these are healthcare clinics. Does abortion happen at these clinics? At some of them. I've mentioned that we have a local local healthcare clinic, I still can't remember what it's called, for low income, but they do not do abortions. They never did. We still had anti abortion activists simply because they are that dumb. I mean, seriously, it's a healthcare clinic. It is not, even if it was performing abortions, it's none of your damn business. But in this case, they weren't. So you are harassing people who are just going about their day, trying to get medication, trying to get contraception, maybe just having their monthly appointment or yearly appointment, however often that they have to go for whatever reason. Um, they they do not necessarily have to are having an abortion. But for those who have to, I mean, there are plenty of women, most women, who are going there because, not because they want to have an abortion, but because they have to have one. Either the fetus isn't viable or they're not going to survive. And so they have to make the hard choice of what they're going to do. And it's nobody's business what their decision is, let alone try to tell a perfect stranger what their decision should be. You aren't them. And if you decide that you would, under no circumstances, have an abortion, then fine. That's your decision. You don't get to tell other people what their decision should be. Unless you are going to say, yes, I will adopt your baby. And even then, because again, this isn't about not wanting to give birth. This is not the issue. So, yeah. I mean, if there are women who are willing to take that offer of, I will adopt your baby or something like that, something useful, if they're willing to do that, then fine. But harassing them is not the way to go. All right. One case comes from Carbondale, Illinois, which is located near the state's southern border and passed an ordinance after becoming a destination for patients from nearby states with abortion bans. The measure was quickly challenged in court and has never been enforced. The city argued the appeal should be tossed because the ordinance was repealed shortly before abortion opponents went to the Supreme Court. Okay, so that means what? That they can harass people now? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand that. The other case is from New Jersey, where activist Gerald Turco said she had approached women in Inglewood for years to try to convince them not to have abortions. She says an 8-foot demonstration-free zone the city passed in 2014 in response to an aggressive group of protesters also wrongly kept her from approaching women. You shouldn't be approaching women. I mean, okay, you're being calm and not unruly. That's great. But again, a lot of these women are going through hell. You're trying to convince them isn't helpful. They went through these options with their doctor. It's not like the doctor just, rubbed his or her hands with glee and said, "Oh, goody, 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 I can convince this person to have an abortion." No, that is not how this works. The doctors give the pregnant person a list of options of what to do if things go wrong. They go through they're going through the pregnancy journey with them. They know if there's problems, if there are issues. And like I said, there are women who are going to these clinics not because they want to have an abortion, or even if that's on the table. They're doing it for basic health care. They might be going to see an OBGYN and check to see how the fetus is doing. You know, normal appointments that women have when they're pregnant. They go to the doctor, make sure everything's all right, maybe ask questions about whatever symptoms they're experiencing, or what they should be expecting, how maybe even how to prepare for the birth, what how to prepare their house, all sorts of things. You know, the sort of things you would ask your doctor. So again, why are you approaching pregnant people assuming that they want an abortion when that might not be the case? All right. Englewood argues that Turco, who has still been able to share her message outside of the immediate area near clinic entrances, lower courts have ultimately upheld the ordinance, finding it isn't a major First Amendment burden. And that's the other thing. Why do you have to attack these people right at the door? Why can't you approach them beyond the 8-foot barrier and harass them then? Why do you have to get right in front of the door? Why? Because she would probably try to prevent women from getting through the door. You know, it's like, oh, you're not going to I couldn't convince you not to have an abortion, I'm not going to let you into the building. I mean, it's just asinine. Okay, there isn't a protective bubble around the whole city. You are able to talk to these women, just not right at the door. I'm not sure why you feel like you need to approach them right at the door. Like that's somehow going to carry more weight to your message. I have no idea what you think you're accomplishing. Both challengers pointed out that the High Court struck down a Massachusetts law creating a 35-foot demonstration fee-free buffer zone around clinic doors in 2014. They say the Illinois and New Jersey laws should meet the same fate. Okay, there's a big difference between 35 feet and 8 feet. And I suck when it comes to measurements. But yeah, I could probably figure out the difference. 35 feet is a lot bigger than 8 foot. So yeah, I'm not sure why you're whining. Okay, you can attack women from 9 feet away. Why are you, is it because their parking lot is less than 8 feet away and so women can bypass you? Well, you know, they can still fucking hear you. I mean, there is such a thing as yelling and signs and being just horrible people. What, you really think that people are going to expect you to calmly tell them that not to have an abortion? Because again, you are perfect strangers trying to convince someone who you know nothing about not to have an abortion, assuming they even are there for one. So, you know, yeah, you really shouldn't be talking to these women because it's not your burden. The women have to deal with that. Their partners have to deal with that. Anybody else in their lives have to deal with it. You are not one of those people. So leave them the fuck alone. All right. But cities say their rules are in line with a different Supreme Court decision from 2000 when the High Court allowed a Colorado law to stand. It barred people from getting within 8 feet of others without permission in a 100-foot bubble zone around clinics. So there you go. Thomas said that case known as Hill versus Colorado was wrongly decided. Well, there's a shock. In a dissent from the decision to decline the Illinois case, he said that the court wrongly treated it differently than other First Amendment cases because abortion was involved. I'm sorry, are you under the impression that the First Amendment has no restrictions except for this? Huh. Interesting. Remember your old textbook case of crying fire in a crowded theater? Do you still think that is okay? No. That's a restriction on the First Amendment and nothing to do with abortion. Next question. All right. Hill has been seriously undermined, if not completely eroded, and our refusal to provide clarity is an abdication of our judicial duty, he wrote. Okay, those are words. In that sentence, I don't know if those words actually mean anything, but they're words. All right, so that is the end of that article. So it's nice to see that even more conservative justices are also understanding that you shouldn't be harassing pregnant women. Well, you shouldn't be harassing anybody, but, when we're dealing with a group of people who could potentially be going through a really rough time because they find out that they have to have an abortion for some reason because something went horribly wrong, the last thing they need is some stranger trying to convince them not to because you somehow know better than medical professionals what is best for this woman medically. And that you know better than the woman and her partner what you know better than them what they can handle economically, financially, mentally. You do not know this person. You do not get to tell them how they should live their lives. And actually, even if you did, you still don't get to tell them. You might, if you are friends with them, you might be able to discuss it with them. If you're good enough friends, they might even ask your opinion. But unless you are familiar with a person and that person asks for your advice, you really shouldn't be telling other people what to do with their lives. And that's assuming that the people you're harassing are even going for an abortion. They could be pregnant, but they could be going, like I said, for multiple other reasons. For a lot of these people, because they're low income, this is their only ability to see a doctor and just go through their pregnancy journey like anybody else does. So again, you're probably even harassing someone who isn't going for an abortion. So you're just, either way, you're making asses of yourselves. And I don't know why you feel it's your First Amendment right to harass people. It's your First Amendment right to make an ass of yourself. That you have a First Amendment right to do. But you do not have a First Amendment right to harass people. And certainly not attack them. Simply because you think you know better than others what they should do with their bodies. You don't know what's going on in their heads. You don't know what's going on in their bodies. So, no, it's not for you to tell others what to do. And I really, really hope that you end up that if you do harass someone, it ends up being someone who is just absolute gold, and they end up traumatizing you with some situation because you would deserve it. If you're going to harass people and try to traumatize them, they get to traumatize you back. So anyway, that is all I have for this video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.